Good afternoon. My name is Mileyka Burgos-Flores. I am the Executive Director of the Allapattah Collaborative CDC, a nonprofit organization focused on implementing placemaking techniques to foster identity, support wealth-building strategies for marginalized communities of color, and advocate for policies and procedures that support equitable, comprehensive, and sustainable community development. Our goal is to protect and strengthen the identity, the charm, and the cultural appeal of our Allapattah neighborhood, as well as other communities in Miami. By ensuring our long-term residents are able to thrive in an environment plagued with disparities, misinformation, and disinvestment, we're hoping to make sure that they can remain in their communities. In recent years, we have worked with our community in Allapattah to develop a strategic plan to mitigate the rapid displacement and improve the quality of life of long-term residents. Our strategies focus on collaboration, education, and coaching to empower individuals, micro-businesses, and the community. Monday Night Talks, the intersection of small business and health, is a 5-part series where we invite you to join us every Monday in the month of November for a 1-hour conversation about the impacts of COVID-19 on small businesses and also their customers. In these sessions, we'll discuss topics that bridge the intersection of business and social determinants of health. We'll explore how COVID-19 have magnified socioeconomic issues that ultimately hurt businesses on several fronts. Monday Night Talks aims to create an informed conversation about the weekly topic and provide a collective way forward as we continue learning how to mitigate challenges in our post-COVID-19 society. We hope that this conversation improve engagement, knowledge, and strengthen relationship among stakeholders. It is an honor to host this virtual event today, and I am delighted to introduce to you my esteemed colleague and co-host, Sheila Pierre, Principal at SocialBridge Consulting. Sheila?
Thank you so much, Mileyka. I am happy to be here, and greetings to everyone. As Mileyka mentioned, I am the principal consultant at SocialBridge. My background is in social work and business, which motivated me to start this work in bridging the gap between people and profit. I work with clients to establish sound corporate social responsibility strategies, and our work aims to solve the social issues through innovative solutions, strategy, and thought partnership. During our conversation, we will discuss how health and how this ultimately impacts you as a business. To join our conversation, I'm excited to have Pierre, an experienced risk management claims and analyst with extensive experience in insurance benefits to include workers' compensation, FMLA, Social Security, and long-term disability. Tia is currently with the Broward Sheriff's Office. Thank you, Tia. I'm also delighted to have Tandeka Nomvete, who also has experience in risk management and insurance. And currently, Tandeka is with Questpro, where she's working with students and other clients to keep them mindful how important risk management and insurance is. Thank you both for joining today's conversation. Mileyka?
The COVID-19 pandemic has stormed in and it continues to affect our everyday lives. 9 months into this crisis, many businesses have been forced to close. Some are hanging by a thread, while others are doing what they can to survive this new reality. Today, we will dive into the intersection of workplace and COVID-19. How do we stay safe at work and telecommuting? Our objective is to understand the psychological impact of working from home, gain a better understanding of risk management and how to mitigate risk of COVID-19 in the workplace. We'll also dive deep into the present and future implications of telecommuting during or post-COVID-19. And what are the best practices and resources available during this pandemic in Miami-Dade County? Let's get started, Sheila.
Thank you, Mileyka. First slide. So you all know why we're here at Monday Night Talks, which is an intersection of small business and health. And what that really means is that we want to have an intimate conversation with business owners, just to really paint the picture of why community issues such as housing, healthcare, access to healthcare is important to you as a business owner. Not only does it affect the business where you reside, but also your workforce. So let's dive in. Next slide. So the intersection of business and health. So the health of a business is directly linked to the health of its workforce and the community where the business resides, right? And so what that really means is that when we think about, why is it important as a small business owner? Should you be concerned about just the idea of health, right? The first point is when you're thinking about your workforce, having a workforce that is sick, that could present challenges, right? That when you think about productivity, when you're thinking risk management, which we're going to dive in today, all of those different factors you can impact your employee. So making sure that you have a healthy employment is important, right? And you really think about you're hiring that employee to do a job, you really should be thinking, are they healthy, right? Really being able to provide that health, access to health as a benefit. Right. And so when you think about what if they're not your employee, maybe they're a resident in that community, why should you be concerned? Right. So we think about that could be a future customer. Right. So if they're sick, it makes it difficult for them to do business with you. So having access to health is also important for a business as well. So when we think about this, we often talk about the social determinants of health, which are different factors that can affect someone's health outcome. And as businesses, you should also be concerned about the social determinants of health, because what's happening outside of your business does impact what you're doing and future business, right? So let's talk about benefits. When we think about the business benefits, right, we think about less sick days. You have an improved productivity, right? Because you have a workforce that's a lot healthier. You have less money that you're spending on insurance. We're going to cover that today as well. You have more cooperation and you transform your workplace culture. And we all know how important that is, right? Making sure that your employees have access to adequate healthcare does impact the culture of your business. So you also have fewer workplace accidents that could potentially happen because you have a sick employee. Now, let's think about the community benefits, right? Some of you may be thinking, why, as a small business owner, should I be concerned about what the community thinks of me as a business? And I'll tell you why. So community involvement helps to increase brand awareness. People, just to think about it, people like to do business with companies that have some type of social good, right? And we see that, right? We saw that a lot in 2020, where consumers were asking questions, hey, what is this company doing? We think of examples such as Amazon or Nike. I know those are examples of bigger brands, bigger companies, but they could be asking the same question to you as a business owner in Allapattah, Opelika, Miami Gardens, Little Haiti. Those are the same questions. What are you doing? This also helps to bring a stronger community relationship when you have, a relationship and you know about the needs of the community in which your business resides. When you think about having community engagement, that's also an opportunity for competitive advantage, right? So what do I mean by that? You being able to have community engagement keeps you competitive because it sets you apart from other businesses. That's not always the mindset, which is to engage in communities, because it's not, people don't always see the value there, but you're going to continue to learn on, why it's so important to connect with your community. And also networking and creating connections with local businesses is a great opportunity and community benefit. Next slide. Okay, workplace and COVID. Okay, so when we think about workplace and COVID, I'm sure a lot of things come to mind, right? So as business owners, what are some of the things you should be thinking about, right? So keeping the workplace safe is what we really want to stress to you right now. And so how can you do that? So when we think about practicing good hygiene, making sure that your employees are washing their hand, making sure that you have disinfectants such as sanitizers are truly important during times like these. Being careful during your meeting spaces, right? Making sure that you have 6 feet distance when you're meeting. And even in some cases, if you're able to do this stuff remote, we definitely would encourage remote meetings as well, or the opportunities where you have multiple people engaging at the same time. Look at opportunities to also go remote with your meetings or any type of engagements. So handle food carefully. That's another workplace safety that you can keep in mind. And if you have an employee where they're telling you, I don't feel well, and they're feeling sick, making sure that you send that employee home so that they can take the proper care. Right? So small business owners must prepare for this disruption in their business. And that's the key thing that we want you to get from these sessions that we're telling you about, being able to prepare and to respond. One of the other things that we noted, and everyone else during COVID-19, was the increase in screen time during sheltering at home. And so when you think about, and if you're like me, I have an iPhone. I know there's some iPhone users out there. Every week you get that message of your screen time. If you don't have it, I want to encourage you out there to set that up so you can just see how much screen time you're using, right? And that's just your phone. Imagine like with your laptop and your other devices. Well, we want to tell you that that does have a long-term, effect, right? So some of these effects are headaches and migraines and sensitivity to the light, eye pain or eye strain, or even a neck pain, right? I remember the other day having a conversation with one of our panelists, Petyah, and we were talking about like some of the neck pains when you're using like your laptop, and a lot of that is associated with just not having the right positioning. And so you really want to be mindful of your body mechanics, and not only for you, but also for your employees as well. Next slide. Okay, so psychological impacts of COVID-19. I'm sure if we all were in the room together, not thinking COVID, right? And when I say we all, I'm also thinking of those of you who are watching, we would have so much to say about the psychological impacts of COVID-19 because we feel them every single day. COVID-19 has really changed the way that we work, and many are working from home. People are like stressed when they're juggling things at work, their children, and other responsibilities, right? So having all of those things in mind can lead to anxiety, depression, and burnout. Most essential workers go to work each day with the fear of getting sick. When you think about hospital workers, and if there are any essential workers out there watching this, we just want to take the opportunity right now to thank you for the work that you're doing out there. But for essential workers, that's also a concern out there as well. Just the fear of getting sick, the fear that other people will not wear a mask, so that puts you at risk. And so the anxiety that's associated with that, and the anxiety associated with maybe seeing one of your coworkers get sick. So as the pandemic lingers and social distancing, we have remote working, businesses are shut down. This has led to greater stress and isolation. So this does take a toll on mental health. And later on during our conversation, we'll talk about tips to help with some of the stress related to the psychological impacts of COVID-19. And there's a picture there. This may resonate for some people where you just feel like your brain may be on fire. There's just a lot going on. We don't really mean that your brain is on fire. It's just that we understand that people are just under lots of stress right now. Next slide. Okay, so I know this is some great information, and you're probably thinking about, as a business owner, how can I prepare? Like how can I use this information? And so I'm here to talk about that. And so just very quickly, I'll say that, you want to identify possibly a workplace coordinator. Some people may say a liaison or champion, someone who's responsible for COVID-19 issues in the workplace and the impact that they're having, right? So usually that champion, that person is the liaison between the business owner. If you're in a bigger organization, we think of, middle to senior leadership, And so that's the person that you would think of. This is also the time to examine your policies right now. These policies are related to leave, to telework, and employee compensation. Many of you have probably already began to do this work in terms of like looking at your policies. And we really want to urge you to do that. Take a look at all of your policies, because with COVID-19, it really, changed a lot of the ways that we do business, and you want to make sure that you're ready. The next thing is to, it's related to what I just mentioned, is to review your leave policies, and also to think about maybe like your other business functions, right? I know for some of you watching business, there's different types of businesses out there. So I'll just give a broad statement of, when you think of like the other parts of your business, you want to review those segments to make sure that you're ready to respond to COVID as well, right? So when to give an example of that, if you're a local coffee shop, maybe thinking about like, where you're getting your items from, to see like the logistics is really what I'm getting to. So prepare business continuity plans for like absenteeism or changes in the way that you conduct business. What that really means is, just prepare, right? You may have employees, a higher number of employees that may be out due to COVID, not only for themselves, maybe they're taking care of a loved one. And so you want to make sure that you're prepared, you have a backup. Establish an emergency communication plan so that you can identify key contacts. Share your response plan with your employees and clearly communicate your expectations. What I would say to that too is, you want to loop your employees into the plan that you're having. There's so much value with really approaching this in a team type of effort. Okay, next slide. Okay, so how can businesses help? So we would like to say the great place to start is to really understand and address the problem and stresses that you're seeing within the workplace, right? And there's different ways that you can do that. You want to have communication, talk to your workforce, whether it may be a Zoom meeting, a Microsoft Team, an online meeting where you're really able to see what's going on, one-on-one sessions. We encourage that. Create a positive workplace environment, which we're going to talk about today. And last, before we get to there, it kind of goes into this next one, which is workplace wellness programs, right? And so that's a really good way to engage with your employees, and to really make sure that when we think about the psychological impacts of COVID, having workplace wellness programs in place will really help to help employees out as they, navigate through this challenging time that we're all facing, we're all feeling it, right? And so one of the last things I'll say about this is keep employees safe. So I put there, think risk management. And I'm excited about this part because we get to talk to our panelists about this, right? So when I think risk management, Tia, right? When we think risk management, let's first start off with business owners, right? What is risk management about? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Of course I can, Sheyla. So when I think about risk management, before I go to a more formal definition, just hearing you talk, it just made me think that at its core, risk management is about protecting your business and protecting people. So not just the people that you employ, but your potential customers. So you want to protect those people because they're consumers. So I'm going to go back into more of a textbook definition of risk management, but I just wanted to make sure I put that out there because it seems to be the theme of the night. So risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, and controlling threats. So for small businesses, when you think threat, you think of financial insecurity, legal liabilities, management errors, accidents with your employees, like think of work comp, or even natural disasters that we can't control. But more so, I want you to think of risk management on a personal level, because we encounter risk and assess risk on a daily basis. We just don't call it risk management. So when you think of getting into your car, the possibility of getting into an accident, you mitigate that risk by putting on a seatbelt. When you go to the beach and you decide, you know what, I'm going to put on sunscreen. Why is that? You want to mitigate the risk of possible skin cancer. If you decide to lock your doors at night, what are you mitigating? The possibility of a break-in. So yes, we have risk in a business type setting, but also every day we mitigate risk and we just don't call it risk management.
Really great information. Thank you for that. Wow. So protecting your business is really what small business owners should be thinking about, right? Okay, that's good.
Exactly. And the
So,
importance of that, when you think about it, is businesses. We're here, ideally, any business owner, especially a small business owner, says they want to make a profit. They want to make money, right? So that's why risk management is important to you. If you're not thinking of ways to protect your business, thinking of possible threats or harms to your finances, then that will, hinder you in terms of making a profit or making business. So that's why it's very important to small businesses, especially.
Yeah, thank you for that information. And I think we don't have the conversation enough about the importance of risk management. So we're excited that you could join us today and really stress to business owners why it's important. And so I want to continue to talk about risk management. Just one sec. I'm thinking about Tandeka, right? So Tandeka, for business owners, they may be thinking about, how do I, attract new employees during this time? It may be difficult. Maybe they lost some employees due to COVID in terms of job losses or whatever that may be. How can businesses begin to think about how to attract talent during COVID-19?
Yeah, absolutely. So people are definitely still making changes even during this pandemic. If I take myself as a classic example, I just started a new role about 2 weeks ago. I think typically people think that during a pandemic, people are not going to move. They're going to just stay stable, and ride the course. But that's not what we're seeing on the recruitment side. People are really using this opportunity to reflect and to think about what it is they really want to do with their lives, perhaps because for many, this is the first time that they've been at home for so long. So they really have that opportunity to reflect, to think about what it is they want to do and start making moves towards doing that. So there are definitely people seeking opportunities, making moves during this time. One thing you can do to attract these new employees is take a look at your company culture. This might be a great time to revamp your culture, to implement some new policies and procedures. Take a look at what types of programs you're offering your employees in terms of self-care during this time, in terms of mental health. Are you having conversations with your employees about mental health during this time? And then, of course, there's social media, because right now that's all we've got is screens in this new virtual world that we're living in. So if you're an employer or if you're a hiring manager, recruiter out there, use this time to advertise yourself, advertise your small business on social media, and really get your name and your brand out there, because this is the best time to do it.
Mileyka, you're on mute. There you go.
Sorry. Here we go. So I am so glad that you guys are mentioning the risk management factor and also the recruiting factor when it comes to the workplace, because I think that's like paramount to business at any day, whether we are under a pandemic or not. But when you throw in COVID-19 into the mix, how does that change recruiting, and how does that change risk management? Like, how does that change your field in now that we have this pandemic? Like, how are we making these different from, let's say, any day in 2018, for example, pre-pandemic, I should say?
Yeah. Well, I think from a recruiting perspective, I think it makes the difference between an okay recruiter and a great recruiter. Because if you're just an okay recruiter during this time, you're looking at all the negatives. You're looking at, oh my gosh, how am I going to reach out to people? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Whereas a great recruiter is thinking about solutions, is thinking about taking everything that you did before and just transforming it into a virtual alternative, which is possible. Almost every single thing that we were doing in our lives before, there is a virtual alternative to it. And so it just takes thinking out of the box to expand your network and to do that. So, for example, from my perspective as a recruiter, this is a great time because I'm no longer bound by traveling. I'm no longer bound by the time it takes to get on a plane, to get over to New Mexico, for example, the hotel that I have to stay at, the food, the this, the that. I don't have all of those logistical issues anymore. I can set a date and a time, and I can have literally a national audience, or I can have a global reach even. So you're reaching more people with less effort. So I think it just takes time to think outside of the box, and to look at the challenges and approach them differently.
Very good.
And then from a risk management point of view, take it me right now, I'm in my office and I'm the only one here. Typically in my office, it's at least 15 people, just in my office, not in the building, of course. And I'm the only person here at this time. So we definitely look completely different than we did this time, 7 months ago, let alone last year. Right now, as a risk management perspective, we're thinking about safety. So we're thinking about all the different things that we can do now that we weren't doing last year to keep our businesses thriving, keep our employees safe, and our potential customers. These safety measures can include what we can see, obviously, is hand sanitizer. That's one of the main things people are saying. PPE, making sure that your employees and customers has masks. Depending on your business, if you're a small business owner, I would even suggest, depending on the cost, of course, having a pack of masks in the front, so that you're not turning away potential customers if they don't have a mask. Imagine if you're a convenience store and someone came in and they just ran to the store and they forgot their mask at home. And now they're like, you know what, forget it. I don't even need that can of tomato soup anymore. I'll make do without it. And you lost that potential customer. If you can withstand it, I would have that in the front. Depending if there's an area that has high traffic, customer traffic, consider plexiglass. I know as a consumer, if I'm going out to a business and I see plexiglass, I think to myself, this business is taking this very seriously. So I'm going to continue to go there to get my nails done or to do whatever, because I see the safety measures that are in place. Making sure that your employees and customers alike are 6 feet apart from one another. What else? Washing your hands. That's always a great thing to do. And then at the end of the day, making sure that you're keeping abreast of the CDC guidelines. I know it changes often, but as a business owner, you owe it to yourself and your consumers and your employees to make sure that you know the latest guidelines going on.
So what I hear you saying is that by taking into account the health of my clients, customers, employees, I can make more money, because people are going to trust my business a lot more because they're going to feel safer. Did I hear that correctly?
100%, Mileyka. 100%.
Wonderful.
And there was something that I thought about, really, right? When we think about business owners, right, you're thinking about like a restaurant or somewhere you want to go. What is like the main thing that we do? We go to Yelp, we look at reviews, right? Well, we're talking to our business owners out there. Your customers are now looking at your safety measures, right? Just like Tia, you gave the example of the nail place. Now you may lose potential customers if you don't have the right safety guidelines in your workplace. So really something to think about.
100%. Yes. It makes me think about what you said earlier about the social determinants of health and consumers demanding more from the businesses. And I think that's part of it too, right? We're demanding not just to know where you stand with diversity and inclusion. We know that that's the issue right now, but also, where do you stand in terms of with my safety? Do you really care about me as a consumer? And if we're showing them that in the forefront, I guarantee you that they're more likely to do business with you.
Yeah, I wanna turn a little bit towards the people that have been cooped up at home and are doing so much more, because believe it or not, now that you're working from home, you are working the time that you would have been stuck in traffic, now you're working it. The time that you would have been walking towards, this side of the building or that side of the building, now you're just at home. You're not going to another meeting. You're not walking or meeting someone in the hallway. You don't have that buffer, let's say, between one meeting and another. Like, you go from one Zoom room to the other in like less than 30 seconds. So how is that affecting us psychologically? How is that affecting the people that are working from home? I mean, I think that Sheila gave such amazing information on the physical implications, your eyes, your strengths, your posture. You feel, I feel beat sometimes after a day of work, and I'm at home or cooped up by myself in my office. It's not like I'm like running a marathon here, you see. But after you have literally 5-6 meetings, you're like so done. How is that affecting us psychologically?
What I would add to that is, well, how is that affecting us? It's creating more stress in an already stressful environment, right? And so going back, it made me think about what Tandeka said about workplace culture. And I think it's important for business owners, but also employees to advocate for themselves to make sure that you're taking breaks, right? And that, you're just really taking care of yourself during these times, right? So being able to, so if you're a business owner, right, making sure that you're not setting up meetings back to back, that you're also being mindful of the breaks in between, right? So I think it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of business owners, management, being mindful of their employees, really thinking about breaks, stepping away from your computer, right? So the luxury we do have with working from home, you may just step outside and catch a nice breeze. You may want to take a walk. So that's something that came to mind. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I've been having, conversations with family and friends during this time about just different techniques that they use to break the cycle, because as you said, we're all working harder during this time. We're actually working longer hours because the time that it took for us to take a shower, put on our clothes, drive to work, sit in traffic, drive back to work, all of that time, we're now just sitting in front of the computer working. And there really is no stop. Like there's no end of the day. There's no signal. There's no 5 o'clock. Everybody else around you is packing up. We don't have those social cues anymore to stop working. So it could go on until 10, 11, 12 o'clock until if you have someone at home who can grab your computer and shut it down. But if you don't have that, there really is nothing stopping you from working, until the wee hours of the night. So just something as simple as setting an alarm, around 5 or 6 o'clock to remind yourself that it's the end of the day and you should do something different. One of my friends actually physically leaves the house twice a day. She leaves the house, even if it's just taking a walk around the block and getting back into the house to mentally tell herself, okay, I'm going to start my workday now. And then around 5, 6 o'clock, she leaves the house again, takes a walk around, whether it's the house or the block, and then re-enters the house, just again, to sort of mentally trick yourself into having that transition. Another thing you could look at is your clothes. If you're dressing up and wearing professional clothes, make sure at the end of the day, you take off those clothes and change. Again, just to give yourself those mental signals to separate your home life from your work life.
Great advice. Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Great tips, Tandeka. That was really great tips, Tandeka, because I'm thinking as I'm listening as an employee and I'm listening as someone in the risk management field. So I'm definitely taking tips because I am one who's working a lot harder, and it makes me think of a lot of people in different fields, depending on what you do. Right now, we're working a lot harder. Aside from the accessibility in front of your screen and it's forcing you to work because you just see your laptop there, so you just can't help but just to log back on. But I'm thinking about those working at the grocery store because we're bombarding them. We're at home and we want to eat, so we're back and forth to the grocery store. I'm thinking about our first responders because that's where I work. So of course I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about our nurses who are working a lot harder as well. Myself in risk management, we're bombarded with workers' comp claims because as the numbers in terms of COVID claims goes up, so does our work. It goes up as well. So we definitely have to adhere to what Tandeka is saying. I also thought about something that Sheyla said earlier about having champions at your job to kind of remind you of wellness and different things like that. And it makes me think that for the businesses that are larger, you very likely you have a risk management department. Smaller businesses like our audience, it's very likely that they don't. So it's very important, to Sheyla's point, that you have someone that is a champion, because as a small business, you may not have the funds to allocate to hire a specific risk management personnel, but there can be someone who takes that on as a passion project, as a champion. It's something that I noticed that when you have other employees, especially your frontline employees, take on tasks as being the safety champion or the wellness champion, or even the birthday celebration champion, that gives them a lot more buy-in. And you notice they really get into it, right? They're like, hey, such and such birthday is coming up. We have to make sure we get together. Or, hey, this is a safety issue. You have more buy-in. As simple as you think of those times where the fire alarm goes off. And the safety champion is the one walking around making sure, hey, everybody, you got your purse? Are the laptops shut down? Are the doors open? They have that buy-in. And you as a business owner or as the manager, you can do small things like recognize them. You can print out some sort of certificate recognizing that they're the safety or wellness champion, right? Because not every employee is moved by monetary compensation or anything like that. Just recognize them. It's something they can add to their resume. It's something that they can say, hey, I was the safety and the wellness champion. So that's just some ideas just to get some buy-in from your employees when you don't have, that financial ability to hire a risk manager for a smaller business.
Yeah. Amazing. I want to ask our audience.
No, go ahead, Mileyka.
Sheila, I wanted to just ask our audience, like, have they been feeling the psychological impacts of COVID-19 at work? Whether you are an essential worker or you're going to your office by yourself, like I do, and Petyah does as well. Like, sometimes you're like the only one in the office, or like today's my day to go in. Are you feeling the psychological implications if you're working from home, if you are in front of the screen for so long? Put it down in the chat box and share with us how are you facing this, and if you have any self-care activities that you're doing to maintain healthy during this time of COVID, please share with us.
Thank you, Mileyka. I think what you said, there was so much gems that was shared here. And Tandeka, one of the things you said, it made me think about, I think you said work-life balance. That was something that people were already struggling with before COVID-19. So imagine what work-life balance looks like now. So it made me think about that. And Petyah, we were going to ask you, but you kind of talked about that. What can business owners do to mitigate or minimize risk in their businesses? You kind of touched on that, but is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think the main thing we need to think about is mitigating risk right now with COVID-19. That's the most important thing. And I touched on most of that, some things that I'm thinking right now, but this is, let's say, for example, a business has elevators. I would suggest that the different corners of the elevators, they even sell now these carpets that kind of say, you stand here, you stand there, where it allows only 4 employees at a time. So that's an example of something you can do. I think more importantly, the basic thing that you will hear on most outlets or most health organizations is simply wearing your PPE and washing your hands when you can. I would wash my hands opposed to using sanitizer when available. If not, use a hand sanitizer, but wearing your PPE, washing your hands, and using hand sanitizer has been proven to be the most effective things right now. And again, as a business owner, look at your business. If you have the ability to allow your employee to work home, I would advise that you do so. That's the best way.
Thank you. And Tandeka, is there any more that you want to add? And you kind of talked about this too. You're doing so much good information about engaging with your workforce, so employees during COVID-19. Any additional information you want to share?
Yeah, so there are definitely ways to engage your employees in a virtual environment, and you can always start small. You could take a look at the things that you were doing with your employees pre-COVID-19. So for example, if you were getting together every Friday for lunch, that's definitely something that you can still implement in this new virtual environment that we're in. Just putting that lunch date on everyone's schedule, give everyone time to make a meal, heat up their meal, get together on a Zoom call and turn your cameras on and have lunch together and still have that FaceTime, that opportunity to catch up with each other, find out how your son is doing, how your husband is doing, etc. Because I've been sitting in on, different courses with like universities and other employers and whatnot. And one of the things that strikes me is when I get onto these Zoom calls, everybody has their cameras off. And so that automatically reduces engagement, So I think just making people feel comfortable enough to turn their cameras on, regardless of what they look like. Because a lot of the times people think, oh, I have to, be dressed up and have my makeup on and all that, to be able to turn my camera off. But if you as an employer can set that example and let people just feel comfortable to turn their cameras on, regardless if, what they look like, whether they're wearing sweatpants and whatnot, and have that face-to-face opportunity to connect with your employers, I think that goes a long way in terms of engagement.
Wonderful. So we have, I'll tell you what I do. One of the things that I do to practice self-care is that I leave my computer at work. I feel that if I take the computer home, I may want to log in just to check on something, or start my day before my day really starts, or end my day a little later. So I do what I do, and then I leave the laptop at home, and that really helps me create that big barrier between family time and home and work time. We also have Jeremy Lim, who is sharing that he's getting bi-weekly massages because he noticed that his ergonomics has been affecting the work from home. And yes, I think that sometimes at home we don't have the most ergonomic positioning and placement, and I think massages are great to kind of go on through this. Something that's happening to me also is that I get really anxious when I go outside, because I know that some people wear their mask while other people think this is optional or that nothing is going to happen. And, all those things. And it just really makes me nervous, because I feel that if everyone was following suit, we would be, the curve would be going down. Things would be kind of more, we could be out and about a lot more, I would say. But I feel that I definitely feel apprehensive because many people are not following the protocol. So it's like, okay, let me just do this thing and that thing, and then let me kind of, lock myself at home, because it's very makes me very anxious. I gotta say.
Yeah, you're not alone. It's really hard to separate, home life, work life is just kind of all blending in at this point. And so we really have to, set that example and really begin to change, what we're seeing, right? It's all because it's new for all of us. So we're really just trying to navigate through these uncertainty. And so also Mark Nelson, always great to have a champion as a mentor to others. Agreed, right? That's a great way to Tandeka's point about a workplace culture. Right, being able to have a champion allows that employee, they feel the recognition, they feel motivated, and it's really important that you have that person that is, since they have the buy-in, and we're hoping that everybody else does too in the business, but they can also support the causes that you're bringing forward. So that's really good as well.
Wonderful.
You guys had some great points. Wellness and how we can address, I guess, your employees' concerns. So I'm thinking about with wellness, I think that's one of the main things, right? You want to think forward. What are some of the things that's making, like you said, Mileyka, you're having some, I don't want to say anxiety, but feeling anxious about certain things. So you want to address that. Where's the anxiety coming from? So if it's you're anxious because potential customers or your coworkers aren't wearing a mask, let me think, can Mileyka do the same work that she's doing for me here at home? Maybe that might help her with her anxiety. Tandeka may be anxious because she has an elderly mom at home. How can I be flexible with her? Sheyla may have children that she decided that I'm afraid to send them to school and they're working from home. How can I be more flexible with her? Because I don't need Tandeka and Sheyla in the office at the same time. I may say, Tandeka, you maybe you can find some alternative care for your mom on Monday. You know what I mean? You come in on that day, Sheyla comes on the other day, and kind of work with your employees there. That flexibility, I think, will help your employees in terms of their anxiety. I know for myself, I'm only required to come into my office once a week. that has given me tremendous ability to have work from home balance, because now I'm able to help my children with school. I'm able to get my work done at home. And then for the super essential things, I save it for my days in the office and I handle it then and there. So I think we need to think ahead of, or not even just think ahead, have those conversations with your employees. Tandeka, what are your concerns? How can I help? Sheila, how can I be there for you? And where you can, go ahead and do so, because it would be, we know Tandeka said as a recruiter, we can find more employees, but it would behoove you to try to keep the ones that you have right now.
Yes, I think that today has been filled of so many nuggets, Sheila. We really hit it out of the ballpark today. Thank you so much, ladies. I get to tell you this. From me, I think that the best advice I can give people in general, but definitely our small business owners, is to be considerate and to understand that this is a tough time that we're all enduring together. And to understand the considerations of many of us have had people die in our families. Many of us had loved ones who have passed. Many of us have a lot of pressures at home, teaching children, being now tutors, and just having enhanced duties that we didn't have before. So being understanding and compassionate with ourselves and with others is one of the best ways that I feel is one of the silver linings that COVID is leaving us, is like the humanity that we all feel. Because whether you are in a Zoom call, it's not weird to hear a baby or a dog or some other family member on another business call. So it's important for us to be considerate, for us to understand that these are some really tough times, that we need to connect in our humanity with our clients, our employees, and all our colleagues. So Tandeka and Petyah, if you have any lasting or last minute takeaways so we can share with our audience.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said about the humanity, right? Like, we have to realize that we're all the same, for the first time, at least in our lifetimes, for the first time, the whole world is in exactly the same spot. We're all going through the same thing. We're all realizing that we're just human, that we're all susceptible to the same virus. And so, when you're having those conversations with your employees, see them as humans first. Don't just jump into the, hey, do you have that report that I asked for, last week or whatnot? Take the time to recognize that we're all in a different mental space right now. And what you said about it being completely normal right now to hear like a baby crying or a dog barking or something in the background, it's crazy that, 7-8 months ago, that was unacceptable, right? If we were sitting in a Zoom meeting, it was completely unacceptable to have any sort of distraction or anything. But here we are 8 months later, and now it's completely normal, to not be on point and be 100% all the time for everything. So, just be compassionate, as you said, and take care of your employees, because they are starting to rethink their career paths.
Wow, you guys have some great responses. I almost can't say anything else, but the risk management hat in me wants to say that as a small business owner, if you want to protect your business, you want to protect the people. Those people may be your employees or your potential customers. And by protecting them, you protect your business in turn.
Thank you, Tia. Thank you. Those are some amazing nuggets, takeaways, and we'd love to also to add to that, to what you guys said. So we'd love to share some of our key takeaways from today's session. Slide. Okay, so today we talked about, right? So I know you guys out there got lots of information, great information. We hope that you'll be able to use and take that back to your businesses, right? So we want you to think about the psychological impacts of COVID-19. We all know that it's something that we've never seen before, and it's creating just a large amount of stress, anxiety, and depression. And we want you to think about that so that as you're working with your employees, that you'll be able to think about some ways to help them navigate it, right? And not just your employees alone, but you may be feeling some of the same stressors. So we really want you to think about the psychological impacts of COVID-19. So when we think about your workforce, actively encourage sick people to stay home. So this can help to, limit the spread of COVID-19, and have conversations with employees about their concerns, right? That was kind of like a common theme that we were hearing today. Communication, being compassionate, really being able to say, what's going on or how can I support you? Those are great steps that you can take. Another takeaway is to review and develop flexible policies for telework and scheduling. As you all know, COVID-19 is something like we never saw before. So, in these times, we need to think about new policies that support what we're seeing. So we want you to take a look at how you're doing business and how you can modify that during COVID-19. When we think about risk management, we have to think about, managing workplace, incidents that can happen in the workplace. And you heard great information about the risk management side of things and what you can do, right? And so protect your business. I wrote that down. That's something I really like about the risk management, right? And so, like we always say, prepare, plan, and respond to what's happening. And so I'd like to also share that with all this information that you guys that you've heard today, you may be thinking about, what does social responsibility look like for me as a small business owner? Maybe it's something that you haven't thought about before. Maybe it's something that you didn't, honestly, you probably thought it was maybe for like a bigger company. Why should a barbershop or a coffee shop or a hairdresser be concerned about social responsibility? And we hope that the information that was shared today, and if you have been with us with some of our other sessions, that you're really starting to see that, things that happen in your community impact you as a business. Now, let's say you want to get more information and you want to think about what some of the next steps are. I'd like to ask you to join us as we have a social responsibility. This is a session that's going to happen on Monday, December 7th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. We will discuss social responsibility and design a plan just for you and your business, one that takes into account your vision, your strategy, and an actual plan that you can put together. And so this plan will boost your competitive edge. And so I'm excited, and I'd love for you to join us for that session. Again, that's going to be Monday, December 7th. We have placed the registration link on the chat box for your convenience. Thank you. Mileyka?
Thank you very much to our panelists, to you, Sheila, and to all of you joining us today. This conversation allowed us to understand and appreciate more deeply the impacts and health implications of workplace and COVID-19 on our small businesses. Please share your feedback with us by filling out the short survey on the chat box. We want to thank the Health Foundation, the Miami Foundation, and SocialBridge Consulting for making this event possible. I encourage you to please keep connecting beyond this event. Be compassionate with everyone around you. We are all fighting a very, very big fight, inside and out. So please, let this be the introduction to continue this conversation with your colleagues, your employees, your clients, your family, and with everyone around you on how to take care of each other during this crisis. I encourage you to please protect yourself, your employees, and your clients from COVID-19. Ask all your employees at work, please go get tested. Ask your colleagues, please go get tested. Please ask your clients and say, hey, go get tested. We currently have an incentive right now where we are working with a number of businesses here in Allapattah, and we're giving them a $10 gift certificate just for participating in this program and getting tested. We need people to get tested. That is the only way you know if you are infecting others or not. Many people feel that they need to have symptoms in order to get tested. You don't need to have symptoms. Just get tested. Many times we are asymptomatics and then we get other people sick and we don't even know it because we didn't get tested. So please, 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 I encourage you to please protect yourself, your employees, your clients, your family by getting tested. Take the test and have everyone in your family and your business get tested, please. Last but not least, visit our website, allapattahcdc.org, for more information and resources for your small businesses and also regarding COVID-19. Thank you very, very much and have a great night.
Bye.